We're live all around. Whoa. Bob for Gov here. Bobby Williams running for governor, state of Georgia as a write-in candidate. Okay. Once again, every ballot has a write-in area. You click on that. I think it gives you a keyboard. Then you can type in Bobby Williams, enter, and you have voted for Bobby Williams for governor. It's a little more difficult than going over there and just checking off a box for this one or that one. But the reason they do it this way is to keep independents like me from coming in here and upsetting the apple cart in their little mafia that they have there with the Democrats and the Republicans. And they got the communists and they got the who do you call them, the libertarians, and God only knows the Green Party and all these people. They've got national conventions, even though they're little pish a dick and nothing parties. But since they have a national convention, all they have to do is put forth a candidate and they get on the ballot. So I can't do it that way. I've got to do it this way. I could get on there as an independent candidate if I could get 73,000 certified and notarized signatures between like the end of January and the 4th of June or something like that, which would have taken an army of people to pull off. It's just not possible. If you were conversely running as a presidential candidate on an independent ticket in the state of Georgia, all you would have had to do is get 7,500, which is a doable task. That's a 30 days, you get it all done. But no, Georgia's got this all wired up so that they try to keep just a Republican or a Democrat in office there. We can't have that. The reason we can't have that is because we've got a couple of yutzes in there running on those two parties that I don't believe either one of them could lead starving wolves to fresh meat. Okay, that's me. I said it. Okay, you don't like it, Camp Abrams, whatever you don't like, I don't care. But the long and short of it is, it's just not happening. And this is a hard way here, guys. If you don't want to have a governor that is substandard, I mean, this is like, okay, Abby normal, then we got to get this out here, okay? If you're ever on Facebook, for God's sake, please like me and share so the people on your list will see this, and maybe we'll get a few Georgia voters out of this, okay? Because I got friends all over the place. I got friends, and they're racking up over here. Mary Ann Parrish, hello there, dear. Just keep going. Keep it going. Like and share. Like and share. Tell your friends. Tell other people about it. bobforgov.com on YouTube, and it is just Bobby Williams over here on my regular Facebook page over here. We have a Facebook page that's Bob for Gov too, but I don't have all you nice people in there friended on that, so I don't use it quite that much. I guess I could duplicate that, but it doesn't make any sense to me, so I'm not going to do it. And that's a key. Does that make sense to Bob? Bob, don't do it. Today's subject matter. I said it's good advice. Well, good advice is something that you pay for. Okay. The only good advice you're going to get that is not paid for, maybe is some advice you get from your mom or your dad or some, wise old uncle or something. But even then, you got to take it with a grain of salt. So if your family's like mine, it's got its share of morons in it too. So you got to be careful which ones you listen to. All right. And I don't mean actual morons. I just mean practicing morons. I mean, it's like they got brains, they just don't use them, right? Okay. I don't know what you call that. Just lazy, I guess. But the long and short of it is, and I'm semi-formal today. I'm not wearing a tie, so that's not formal. But I am wearing a shirt with sleeves, even though they're rolled up, and a collar. So y'all think about it. I do have one. I've got a tie in here too, but you're not going to get that today. You haven't earned it yet, okay? Nobody's called at 888-592-5251. You call, I'll put the tie on, okay? Maybe. Again, Appreciate everybody being on. Hey, Dee Dee Perrone. Woohoo! Gosh, that's one of my favorite people in the world. And hey, you know, I see pictures of you, Dee Dee, with your kids. My God, they're almost grown. It is incredible. It is incredible how quickly that happens. You and Dom. It seems like it's just a few years ago. You guys were you know, getting married, and you got a family full of nearly grown children. And I know you guys are doing well. I see things every once in a while. Tell Dom I said hi, and vote. So find somebody, Dom. Find some people in Georgia and get them to vote for me, okay? Because I know you're a powerful guy. Okay, you're an intense individual like me. So get in there, get it done, and go for it. We're doing a write-in campaign, and so help me God, we're going to do everything we can to get that generated in there. And I'm going to say hi to Dee Dee on the screen just so I should make. Kiddo. I'm not sure what I did there. Yeah. I'll have to get me a program manager here. That way I'll have more hands to do the work and ears to do the work and things. We're going to do that. Okay, we're going to get that. I was just talking with some folks this past weekend about a time slot during drive time on WGSD radio too. So it could be things. It could be the Bob and Ernie show on WGST radio. My brother Ernie, he makes such a good straight man. We call him Crazy Ernie on the internet. You'll find him touting our product and doing all kinds of electrical things in water with some of our lubricants that we manufacture and sell. So, you know, just look for us there at force5.com, force5products.com, and on the internet, just as Force 5 Products. As you look for Crazy Ernie, look for Crazy Ernie, okay, and you'll be able to distinguish him from any other Crazy Ernie. I think it's like one guy that was going to sell a certain number of cars. He was going to club this baby fur seal. That was a Crazy Ernie too. It was kind of a funny idea, but of course they didn't kill seal. But the Crazy Ernie that I'm talking about, my brother, is wearing hog washers. You know what they are if you're in Georgia, okay? Everybody else calls them overalls. He may be wearing the ones that are cut off above the knee, which are he refers to them as Bermudas. Okay, so you never can tell with Crazy Ernie, and he is an individual that you got to watch for a while. Okay, just you just don't know. He's 5 years younger than me, so I taught him everything he knows. And when we were growing up, and my dad used to say that Ernie could tear up a wrecking ball with a rubber hammer, and I think it's probably true, or an anvil with a rubber hammer. He can break it. If he can't break it, okay, if it's Crazy Ernie tested and it isn't broken, let me tell you that device or that machine or whatever it is he's testing there gets the Baja guarantee right then. I'm telling you, it is beyond any normal ability to take a licking. I want to talk about again about advice. I get a newsletter. Here's I'm going to hold this up here. I'm not advertising for Richard Mabry. I don't half like the guy. You know, it's one of those things where you love to hate him. He gives excellent advice. He's got an attitude that you know, no matter what it is, he can see the problem with it. Okay, and he's not all negative. He's a little bit jaded. He's about 71 years old, and I'm 62, and I'm jaded myself. But you know, the bottom line here is with him is that he actually sees politicians, and governments as an absolute negative. You know, I got some quotes on him from here. He said, "Today's politicians, bureaucrats have so much power they encroach on every corner of our lives." You know, it's really true. It really is. So you have to be extra careful who you let be that person that represents you. If you're going to let me or Stacey Abrams or Kemp represent you, you're going to get an entirely different product with Stacey Abrams than you do from me. Yeah, I think another point that he makes in this newsletter, and I'm hammering these points. He says the first point is that governments don't have any wealth of their own. Okay, and I know that's not strictly true because they actually have some property that they've seized at one time or another for taxes, but they only seize wealth from other people. Okay, so before they can do anything for somebody, they first have to go rob somebody else of the money or the wealth to come back and have to take it away from one to be able to do anything for the other one. And that's just a all around negative thing there. The government has only has any more right to rob you than somebody on the street. It's H.L. Mencken, Mencken says every election is a sort of advanced auction of stolen goods. Okay, we're going to promise you the world, and we're going to go, you know what, I'm going to give you this, I'm going to give you that, I'm going to give you free this and free that. And that's just an event. And if you'll come in and vote for me, then I'll go out there and hold a gun on whoever I have to as taxpayers to get up the money to be able to carry out the promises that I made. Maybe, okay, it may be you that I break the promise to, and the other guy gets to keep his money, because politicians, the rank and file of them cannot be trusted. I mean, we ain't come up with a $21 trillion deficit because politicians were responsible with handling money. That's what we got right now, and that's not even talking about the real figures for pensions that that the government's responsible for and everything else. And we have a currency that's based on nothing but green ink, and the Federal Reserve's ability to create more trillions out of thin air, and sooner or later that gets even thinner. So in Google, in the publication, so that Venezuela's inflation is likely to reach 1,000,000% based on a Bloomberg article in July. 1,000,000%. I mean, what is that even? Okay, well, 1,000,000%. Is that like 100 divided by into a million, and that's how many times you multiply the peso or whatever the hell they call the bolivar, or I don't know what they call it in Venezuela. That's interesting. I don't know what the money is in Venezuela. It's probably dollars. I've never seen where you couldn't spend them. But, of course, now it might not be true, huh? Yeah, with politicians, you're led to believe if you put the right ones in power, everything will be okay. Let me tell you something. You owe $21 trillion in bond debt to have financed the world's progress. It is not going to get okay just because you elect a particular individual. It's not going to happen. There is some pain in the process of getting that done. I mean, it's a race to the bottom right now. I was looking at part of this was that the Chinese yuan is being devalued even as we speak. And it's all about a currency war. If the yuan isn't devalued, then they can't sell this product over here against the dollar, because the yuan is against the dollar gets higher, and their goods are more costly here, so it ruins the import program there. And the Chinese are already in hot water with this. Everybody thinks the Chinese economy has been this whole great thing. Of course, they used to think the same thing as the Japanese too, until sometime in the 90s, I guess. The Japanese were born with a big auger. They come down here and spend $100 million on a bank building in Atlanta back before anybody ever bought a building for $100 million before. I mean, it was just incredible that somebody bought that building for that much money. They didn't care. It's just money. Of course, when their economy finally caved on itself, and Japan incorporated, and Japan's banks and all got all pulled together. I mean, the last 20 something years, the interest rates in Japan have been effectively zero, and the banks just lend out whatever money they need to the businesses there, which is it's an extremely fascist system. Okay, the businesses are privately owned, so to speak, investor businesses and all, but they are so closely coupled with the banks, which are closely coupled with the finance of the government, that you can't tell where one ends and the other one starts. A lot like all our large banks that got TARP money and too big to fail and everything back in the 2008 and 9 time frame. Those banks they're not free banks anymore. Okay? They're not. I mean, they belong to a cabal of government and business. It's anytime that the government is holding up the finance, or holding their head above water so that they're not drowning. It's a fascist system. Okay, and they have to kowtow to the government and do what the government tells them to do. The Chinese corporate bonds are defaulting at a record rate. Beijing has unveiled a new subsidy program designed to buoy the economy by encouraging even more corporate borrowing. Imagine that. Roughly half the loans in the central bank of China are non-performing. That means that nobody's making payments on them. Okay, they're not paying back principal, they're not paying back interest. It's just a bad loan laying over there, but nobody's called the loan, so it's still laying over there. And aside from it being non-performing, nobody cares. And that's mostly generalissimos in the army and then the Communist Party shipping, tens of millions of dollars worth of goods out of China to all the other places, largely the United States. And they have a nephew or somebody over here that's receiving the goods and selling them here in the U.S. and sending the money to Swiss or Cayman Island bank accounts, where the general will be able to retire comfortably one of these days, and not paying the bank. I mean, they're not paying for the cost of the goods sold or the shipping or anything. It's just, it's all on the cuff there at the bank. So, I mean, we've seen some of that over the last 30 years or so in our business dealings. So that one China observer suggests that the Chinese government must be wondering whether it has enough riot police. Man, I wouldn't want to see that happen. That would be a really rough day there. Those guys, they don't play when it comes to riots anyway. Everybody remember Tiananmen Square? Okay. You get, here we are. We're going out there and playing patty cake with a bunch of damn communists out here in these protest things. They're throwing rocks at police and spitting at them and everything else, and call themselves Antifa or whatever they're calling themselves at the time. If the police will take that nice long oak billy club and actually put a dent in that masked head, where's that come from? Okay, it's been against the law since the 60s for an adult person to wear a mask in a public gathering like that. Okay, they got rid of all that, but to get the Ku Klux Klan to take its hoods off. Okay, and not a damn bit of difference with the Ku Klux Klan and these communist agitators at Antifa. And the reason they want a rag over their face is so that you won't know that every protest that you see Antifa's into, whether it's in Oakland, California, New York, or somewhere in Florida, that it's the same people being bussed around by George Soros's buses. George Soros needs killing. Okay, that used to be in the South. It was a joke that was an acceptable reason for homicide, is that he needed killing. Well, I think in George's case, it might still be true. Winston Churchill said, "The best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter." Winston Churchill was a pretty sharp fellow. He, the only time he was really popular was when the bad guys were crawling all over them and about to take over England. You know, everybody wanted Churchill. They needed that ugly bulldog. He's one of my favorite historical figures. And the thing about Churchill is that he overcame some incredible issues that probably would have stopped most of us, and we would have, kind of shied away and been a wallflower out of this. But unless you've read about him and gotten the skinny, he wasn't the sharpest pencil in the box when it came to his studies. And whether he was had some kind of learning disability or what when it came to certain things is debated now, and even to the point where he may have had some mild dyslexia or something of that sort. He also had a lisp that was very pronounced. Okay, he really had a hard time saying a lot of sounds, and his parents were basically non-starters. They were aristocracy, and he was raised by nannies, and his parents, his mother, doted on him, but his father didn't have much to do with him because he was really kind of, be honest with you, his father probably thought he was pretty substandard, and he was a short round, and he's going to depend on the other people in his family. But he overcame those things. He overcame them. He wasn't heir to the family title. He wasn't heir to the family lands or properties and all that kind of stuff. He had to get out there and make a living. Okay. So one thing he was good at was writing. And so he made himself a good writer and became a correspondent and went down to South Africa during the Boer Wars in the early 19th century and 20th century. And was quite famous there. He did a number of things, including getting captured and doing a jailbreak from the prison camp, and with him and some other people. And he got out and he was riding a train, and they were attacked by the Boers, and he led a strong resistance and saved the train and everything. And he was just a correspondent. Okay, and he kind of learned how to write and how to keep people on a string there, with the story. So he would keep it going. And he started making pretty good money at it, sending things back to England to be published and all, in newspapers and magazines and all. And that was largely how he made his living, and writing the books about some of these experiences later on. And then he get into the Parliament there and into politics, and he served as an official in the British government during the First and the Second World Wars. In the First World War, I think he got to be as high as Sea Lord, which is like head of the Navy in their parlance. And then between wars, he was again not a particularly popular politician. He called it like he saw it, a lot like me. He called it like he saw it. So he had people that he rubbed the wrong way, and I'm certain I do too. But the cool thing about it was when the chips are down, he's the kind of guy you want around. Like me, I'm the kind of guy you want when the manure hits the ventilator, right? Okay, I've been there, I've done that. I got a T-shirt for it. I'm not going to run. I'm going to stay, and we're going to make sure we get this all done. And Churchill was that way too. Of course, I haven't had any kind of test anywhere near what he had, but I got it. The whole Battle of Britain, everybody's maybe heard of that. And, it seems like World War II was a million years ago. Hell, people don't even remember Vietnam now. And I remember sitting there and watching Walter Cronkite talk about how many people got capped in Vietnam this week, of our men. And what a waste. What a waste. What a complete damn waste. You want to look at our politics and national scale, and look to see what's going on with everything really since Korea. We picked every fight that we've gotten into since Korea. And we've, this whole Gulf of Tonkin thing, right? Does anybody really believe that? And the McNamara, who's head of the World Bank now, how about that, huh? And him and Johnson and that bunch calling in airstrikes from what the targets were for airstrikes from carriers and from land-based aircraft, sitting there being the Monday morning quarterback in Washington, D.C., halfway around the world from where the action was. And that bunch of idiots was calling those plays. While meanwhile, back at the ranch, everybody in Congress and everybody in the Senate and anybody that was clued in to things was buying up stock in every defense department thing they could get their hands on, so that they were there with the North American Rockwells and whoever else was making airplanes and bombs and missiles. And I understand that LBJ's wife, Lady Bird, was one of the major stockholders in the Sea Land Shipping Company, which was the only one authorized to carry American goods into Vietnam. Yeah, Jim, what's up, Bubba? How about that? C. Wang apprentice. Yeah, Wang. Yeah, he's my apprentice. He's my IT guy. He's over here giving me little messages. Yeah, baby. I think I sent these things already here. I guess I'm not. Anyway, it's a great day in the neighborhood here. Politics does not make for a lot of trustworthiness, politicians. And it all comes down to ethics. Back in the 1960s, the Supreme Court decided that religion, Christian religion, couldn't be taught in schools, public schools. Now, I'm not sure why it went from a formal not being a formal subject to being completely gone from the universe. But I guess a lot of people figured that ethics and religion went along together, and when they got rid of the religion, they got rid of the ethics too. Because it wasn't long after that went through the hippie era that I lived through. The era between free love and AIDS back in the 80s. So I mean, it's a 20-year period there that was basically a free for all. Not a heck of a lot different now, but somewhat. I think young people have a more responsible attitude than we did when we were that age. I went to high school and college during the 70s, and it was you thought it was some kind of a Roman party for the circus. We had a good time. We blew it out. It wasn't all Woodstock, but it was interesting, and sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? And now we're not really tasked for that. We've spent so much money, and we have absolutely mortgaged our children's futures, our grandchildren's futures. And when I say we, I'm not talking about me, because I'd never do that. Okay. But you and I have been electing politicians over the last 30-something years that we didn't know. We didn't know who those people were. We had sound bites, just like you have now with Abrams and with Kemp. You get sound bites. Oh, I had to make a decision to pay my taxes or pay for my daddy's cancer treatments. And I still say that that's a lie, that it didn't happen that way. Okay. Stacey Abrams, I'm telling you right now, you're lying about that. You're lying to the people of the state of Georgia about having made that kind of a choice, because people in Georgia don't get denied cancer treatments. Okay, that is just not happening. Most assuredly, somebody your daddy's age that's already on Medicare, it ain't happening. And I'd like to see the canceled checks for the bills you paid for $50,000 that you didn't pay on your taxes that you owe to the state, to the well, I'm sure you owe some state tax too if you didn't pay the feds. You didn't pay the state either. Somebody that won't pay their taxes but wants to be in a position where they're going to come out there with men with guns and make you pay yours. You really want to do that? You really want to do that? Now, I know there's people out there, that, in the African American community, that, hey, they're proud of because she's the first, gubernatorial candidate. That's like, for God's sake, you can't come up with anybody any better than that. 47% of the population of the state of Georgia is African American. I promise you, there are, ocean liners full of African Americans in the state of Georgia that have got better qualifications and have got a cleaner history than what Stacey Abrams has. And then, Kemp, what are you going to say about Kemp? Okay. I already talked about him. Barring using his position to leverage people to lend him money unsecured for business expansions and things. Show me anybody dumb enough to lend me $500,000 for a business enterprise without any collateral. Friends and neighbors, I'm a banker. Nobody does that. Okay, nobody. If a banker did that, he'd be locked up. The OCC or state regulators would be hauling him off and closing down the bank. I mean, that's not right. Okay. Yet Kemp uses his position to, I'm sure he leveraged it, Oh, yeah, the guy's the Secretary of State. He knows what he's doing. We're going to make some money on this, okay? So, we'll let him have $500,000 or $1.5 million. Can't tell you which one was. It was more than one loan, though, okay? Unbelievable, okay? For a seed crushing business. I guess that's when you're extracting oil from seeds. Canola, I think it was. Like other people aren't already doing that. It's on every store shelf, okay? It's crazy. Yep. Semi-formal today. I'm doing my Yogi Bear thing, with the collar. Okay. Yogi cracked me up, man. He was all brown bear except for that white starch collar and the bow tie. Yep. I can't go through life with the Richard Mabry attitude. I do my investments, as he said, which is basically his advice on investments is diversify. Okay. Spread it all out. Hope some of it survives, right? Some of it will do good. Some of it won't do so good. But by and large, maybe in the end, you'll have something to spend. I think that's the shotgun approach to it. But what are you going to do? I mean, the stock market down today, close to 200 points. The Chinese are over there talking about going to war with us. And I'm not as concerned about that as maybe a lot of people are, because I know the Chinese will talk a long time before they actually do anything. And what they're looking for is a deal, and I know that we got Trump in office. He knows how to make a deal with his cats. You take it right up to the edge, but they don't go over the edge. Okay. There's a renewed worry about cybercrime. Okay, and we got a good kernel of kernel's a software word. A good kernel of a system here in the state of Georgia between the various different technical schools that we have, Georgia Tech and Kennesaw State and all around. Okay, to have a strong program in cybersecurity and keeping the bad guys out of our systems. For one thing, if I had to make the decision and I find somebody that's hacking, or God help them, introducing a virus into the systems so that we have viral damage in our systems around the state, I'd put that guy out there. I don't care if he was 12 years old. I put him out there making big rocks into little rocks for the next 20 years. Yes, and have a video, an internet camera out there showing him working every day and making sure everybody knew how to find, him by name, and we post it on YouTube and everywhere else. We'd have that guy. I want everybody to know what massive amounts of money that stupidity of being a hacker or being a smart ass with a virus like that. You're costing billions of dollars in businesses, and you won't ever produce that kind of revenue in your entire life. Okay. You're gonna blow that kind of money for so many people. In the last 20 years or so in my businesses, I can't tell you how many times we've had to redo our systems and all because somebody sent a virus that our protection software didn't catch, or some kind of hostage situation we had to pay to get things unlocked and everything. So believe me, I have no mercy at all on that cat. None at all. First offender, okay, great. Well, maybe we'll give you 3 years breaking rocks. Second time, don't look to get out of there anytime soon. Okay. It's great being here. Only been on like 39 minutes now. I'd be happy to talk to anybody that called at 888-592-5251. I didn't write that on here this time. I'm sorry about that. Okay. That's program oversight. Okay. Write it down. 888-592. 592-5251. Oh, okay. Tell me what you want to talk about. I can talk about anything for 10 minutes and do a credible job of it. Try me. We'll see if we can do. I'm a pretty educated guy. I mean, most of that's been self-educated. Yeah, I went to NC State University, got an engineering degree, and I've been to a couple of grad schools. I was here at Mercer and had to get I got transferred to Connecticut, so I went to Hartford, University of Hartford, for a while. I never did get it quite done because I still had like a couple of classes I needed to do when I transferred back to Atlanta and in '85, and immediately started traveling overseas. And I just didn't. I was doing it Friday nights and weekends before, because I traveled during the week. But once you start traveling overseas and the weekends get consumed in it and all those necessary, just being able to attend classes. But I was doing a marketing degree, and I'm still selling. I've been selling for 38 years, more than that, really. My dad had a body shop, and a gentleman I was interviewing for a job with Hercules Chemicals, and I can't remember Mr. Howard's last name now, but it might have been Howard. But anyway, he asked me if I'd ever sold anything. I told him no, and he reiterated the experience that I had working at my dad's body shop and everything. He said, "Well, did you ever tell anybody about features and benefits, or what you're going to do for them on a paint job, or how much it was going to cost them, or how long it was going to take, and that kind of thing?" I said, "Well, sure, all the time." He said, "Well, when did you start doing that?" I said, "About 13. He said, "Well, you've been selling something since you're 13. Man's right." And here I am, 60 years, going to be 63 on November 11th. which is Veterans Day. And the reason we get off is because of my birthday and veterans. Okay. I always told the kids at school we got half day off to go to the parade and everything. I said, no, it's my birthday. That's why. I'm not taking any credit for it, guys. I know it's all about the veterans. Okay. My dad was a veteran. I was in ROTC for a while, and when Jimmy Carter was renting services, so we didn't need to. They didn't need any more second lieutenants in 1978. So I got to go to work for Procter and Gamble instead. I worked for them for a couple of years, and then came to Hercules and worked for them for about 6 years, or 6 years. And then I worked for Nokia and a joint venture they had with Combustion Engineering. Nokia is still around, I guess. You still see their products and everything. They do more business in Europe and in China and everything, I guess, than they do now here, but they're still around. They were non-existent here at that time, back in the mid 80s. They did software for pulp and paper and power gen, and they did machinery to do wire and cable. So Southwire was a big customer over here, and we sold expert systems to pulp and paper industry all over the world, and did well with it. Had a good time. Had a good business, good living. But things change, and Combustion Engineering bought Nokia's end of that out and turned it over to their Accuray division, and lots of things changed in that, and I decided that was the time for me to leave, and if I was ever going to get out and start my own business and get moving on that, the time to come. And I had already been elected mayor of Duluth, Georgia by that time, and I was serving in that job as mayor, and I had some people around here that had different opportunities for me to look at. I mean, I guess it's everybody thinks you're rich when you're a politician. Okay. I kept telling, especially after I got divorced during that period of time too. It was a 6-year period there, and the last 2 of those I was divorced already, and and after that divorce, man, I couldn't hardly pay attention, and I had a business that was struggling. We'd started a wooden yard waste recycling business. My partner Charles H. Wynn is deceased now. I miss him. He's good. He was a good guy. He was the older brother I never had. He really was, and I loved him dearly. But he and I had this huge wood grinder, and it would grind up stumps size of this office here, and all kinds of things, and we'd grind it up, and then we'd pile it up in rows, and it would go through a biological process, that where the wood sugars were eaten by bacteria, and it produces heat and steam and stuff. And after it goes through that heat and everything, then we would sell it to people for mulch around their houses, around things, and they come in there, and we'd load it up with a big rubber tire loader and everything, and charge something for it. So you got people bringing stuff into you and paying you for it to bring it there, and you grind it up, and you compost it, and then somebody pays you to take the mulch and go somewhere else. It'd be kind of hard not to make a decent living at it, but it was an extremely expensive process to run because of the power and the materials that it took to grind these things up. Now it's easy. It got better equipment now than they had back in the late 80s for doing that, but it was an interesting thing. We did it for about 4 years, and then I left that business. A couple of my partners were from North Carolina, and they took over that, and it just was such a capital intensive business, and they didn't want to put any more money into it, so it wasn't going to go anywhere I wanted to go. And I left that, and I kind of goofed off for a couple of years in an import export business with a former councilman, and we traveled all over the country looking at businesses that were totally alien to me. A lot of retail businesses, things like window shades and blinds and all kinds of household fixtures. And I got to attend houseware show up in McCormick Center in Chicago a few times, and actually, saw a lot of famous people up there. One of the most exciting was Julia Childs. Boy, you talk about a tall woman, and got to meet her, and she was really fabulous, conversationalist and everything. I didn't get it. Wasn't really like a hold a conversation like this, but she was talking and cutting up and had a good time. And then after Walmart decided they were going to start putting procurement offices in Guangzhou province in China, so we could see the handwriting on the wall. We didn't have enough capital to be able to get in there and turn it over enough times in a year to make profit with folks of that nature, becoming a resident. So we searched out something else, and somebody that worked for Discover Card introduced us to a company in California doing credit card processing, and we flew out and looked it over, and for what heck, it's just selling, right? So we got in that business, and it's been wonderful ever since. We work very, very hard in that business. It's an intense business. Somebody always needs something. I can't say that it's ever been boring. That's the one thing, and it's been profitable. Okay, I've sent my kids to private schools and private colleges and private med schools and everything, and we had the money to pay for that. So I figure it's part of their inheritance, and we probably have enough for a comfortable retirement. We're not rich. We're not going to be building any mansions and jet setting anywhere, but certainly made a comfortable retirement in that, and picked up little things along the way. I've done things with the Shriners that I never would have gotten a chance to do if I was working for somebody else, and certainly one of the highlights of that was my dear friend Colonel David Stevenson, who was retired from the Army, and Davis convinced me to go to Paraguay with him. When he was a young officer, he was stationed in Paraguay at the embassy at Asunción because they needed somebody that spoke Spanish. Well, he had been born and raised in the Canal Zone, so he was fluent in Spanish and English, and he was a lieutenant, so which was really kind of a low rank for an embassy job like that, but they needed somebody, and I guess Paraguay was only just so important, and they sent him out there, and he made lifelong friends with people. One of the gentlemen owns call it ABC newspaper in Paraguay, which is the largest newspaper and broadcasting station there. And back when they had a dictatorship there, he got put in jail a few times, but once the dictator left, he was right back at it that day. And a terrific guy, a multi-billionaire in every sense of the word. And we went there, and we went to specifically look at something that Shriners were doing there. A very small group of Shriners there that are, somewhat kind of an outpost in southern South America. So we went down there, and they were a children's burn center that was just really not big enough, and it was equipment wise, they just didn't have enough. What they had was okay, but the thing they did have was they had a group of dedicated surgeons, nurses, and staff that really poured their heart into taking care of these kids. And this hospital was it was like the government hospital. Okay, so all the kids coming in there were middle income and lower, mostly lower. And from out in the country, they cook basically on stoves on the ground, and the stoves are kerosene powered, and a little kid bouncing around out there. It didn't take them long to turn over the stove and get burned with the kerosene, or turn over something that's boiling and get burned with the water, and burns are a serious issue there. And here they are, many miles from Ascension in that country. It's a pretty good sized country, especially when you're talking about not having any real transportation. So a lot of times these kids in terrible shape had to travel a very long ways to get to the burn center, and they were so crowded that they actually had some of the little ones were two in a bed, and hooked up on morphine drips and doing things, and they take them and bathe them and scrub them and put all kinds of false skins on them and everything so that they don't get infections, and then do skin grafts with the plastic surgeons working on them, and good people, good American trained plastic surgeons, and so they needed help, and we appealed to some of the politicians there, and we went there and actually saw the new president get installed in his inauguration. And that afternoon, late 5:30, we had an appointment with the new health minister, and went in and talked to him and told him what we're doing. We were calling on the Taiwanese embassy and asking for help there, and Taiwanese are always looking for something they can do for the people, for the benefit of the people, and because their relationships are rather limited based upon the one China being a big bully and running them out here. Like the United States doesn't recognize Taiwan because it's it has to recognize China. I think it's about time to throw China under the bus and get Taiwan back myself. But anyway, the Taiwanese and the government found money and various different things that they did to raise money, and they built a new wing onto the Children's Burn Center there in Ascension, Paraguay. And you know what? They named it after my dear friend David Stevenson, Colonel David Stevenson, and I think it was very well deserved. We also were able to get together enough donations here to pack a 48-foot container full of medical supplies that they needed desperately, surgical supplies, even such things as chairs and desks and various different things that they were going to need to fill out some of these things, and a lot of equipment that we put together. There's an outfit here in Atlanta called MedShare, and we were able to partner with them to gather this stuff and get it shipped to Paraguay in a container. It cost about $25,000 to do that, but they ended up getting almost $150,000 retail worth of supplies and furniture and equipment and all kinds of things. So but being in business myself and being in touch with people like David Stevenson and the folks down in Paraguay have been a real boon to my life and my wife's life. She went with me to see how other people live, and not all of it was dismal. And the burn center was tough, okay, but we did other things while we were there. We went out to an estancia and had a barbecue on Sunday and did all kinds of things there, and they had one party after another for us at various people's different places and houses and everything. And one of Davis's old friends, who was a general in the army there, he was retired also at that time, had a garden party for us, and they had a live mariachi orchestra, and everybody showed up, had a great time, got a lot of good food, everything, and some wonderful music, absolutely wonderful music. Some real guitar players there. I play guitar, but I'm not particularly good at it, and I'm working on it. I'm back to working on it now. Okay, it's an objective of mine to get back and get better at playing the guitar than I ever was. And in the last several years, I haven't played enough that my fingers are not even tough. I'm without calluses on my fretting fingers. So, if any of you know about playing guitar, you understand that I have not been playing much, but I am every day now. Not much, but playing just enough to get my touch back and Yeah, so I'm playing a half hour a day, something like that. I hope to get that up a little more. But that and I'm make another stab at learning the Spanish language and getting it down pat. So uh, don't be surprised if I use some of it. Okay. In any case, it's time for me to say adios and vaya con Dios. So it's goodbye and go with God. And Bobby Williams signing off. Bobby Williams for governor in the state of Georgia. Bob for Gov. This is number 4. Bob4gov.com. Write in candidate. It's not that difficult. You write my name in there, space, boom, write in Bobby Williams, boom. And we'll break up this whole monopoly that the Republicans and Democrats have. See, they're absolutely convinced that one or the other of them is going to be governor of the state. And I'm absolutely dedicated to making sure that doesn't happen. Okay. I don't like either one of them. I'm not right or left in this. I'm not a Republican, not a Democrat. I'm an American and I'm right down the middle. I'm a Georgian and I want to be there for all the Georgians, the white ones, the Chinese ones, the black ones, the, African American, I should say, whatever. Um, everybody's got issues. The governor can make a difference in those things. At least get some things moving in the right direction. I'm strong about veterans, especially about these homeless vets and these people who can't see enough future from where they're sitting that they kill themselves. Okay, that's still happening. Georgia's having more suicides than it's ever had in its past. Okay, we're still lower than a lot of places in the country. For God's sakes, let's keep it that way. Okay, there's no reason for that, especially the young people. Thanks again. Like I said, vaya con Dios. See you tomorrow.